If you were a school kid in the late 2000s and your teacher was cool enough to let you play a game on the school PC, the chances are you played this game. Traversing through hard puzzles, meeting nonsensical and weird characters, all the while being stalked by possibly the scariest villain in all children's educational games, it was definitely an experience. I'm gabihudz and we're joined with seagulls, and yes, of course, I'm talking about Granny's Garden. You know this, you clicked on this. It was a school educational game originally created for the BBC microcomputer back in 1983 by Mike Matson of the company Formation. Formation then remade the game in 2006, which is the version I played as a kid, and it's the one I'm talking about today. It takes place in a kingdom of mountains where we're tasked to rescue the king and queen's 6 missing children while avoiding the evil witch. This very witch haunted me and many other players, both from the 80s and from the 2000s. Let's just dive right into this bizarre game. When we boot up the game, we enter the not-so-secret cave, where we're told by the cave, I guess, about the missing kids. We then meet Bestie, aka the King and Queen's pet raven, who will be the character that talks to us like Mr. Blobby
Magic powers
and guide us through the 4 levels within the game. The first being the Woodcutter's house, which had been evacuated by the evil witch and now houses the kidnapped child Esther, where the game informs us it's been booby-trapped by the witch. After trolling the game over the word fig and being offered an apple from the outside tree, we finally enter the house and we're in the main hallway. There's also an immediate prompt to take a walking stick as well. There are 4 areas in the house that we can actually travel to: the kitchen, the back room, the cupboard, and upstairs. Going into the kitchen just shows you an animation of a pot where you're asked whether you want to go in it or not. If you opt to go into the pot, you get caught by the witch. And in this game, being caught by the witch automatically means game over, back to title screen. The back room just takes you to a chest that opens up and tells you that it's not here that you'll find the broom, which is the game's way of telling us we need a broom. The next area is the cupboard, and when we open the cupboard, oh my goodness, there's a broom. It's exactly what we need. So let's say yes. In this educational kids game, this is the screen we're met if we get game over in the first level. I've been scared of this woman for like nearly 2 decades. The final area, upstairs, is where the snake is. And the snake is in front of a very important note on the wall. We can opt to throw the apple from the tree or throw the stick. If you don't have either, the witch catches you anyway. In order to get past the snake or not get game over from the witch, you have to throw the apple. If you opt to throw the stick, the game tells you it was an evil magic wand and you get caught by the witch and get game over. If you throw the apple though, the snake turns into a string of sausages and sausages away, and then we get the note. This note tells us that if we look again, then 1 broom will become 2. That's helpful. Thank you, game. Basically, we need to go in a cupboard, say no to the red broom, and then go back to the cupboard again and oh, there's a green broom. I'm so glad the game told us that we needed a green broom and to not take a red broom. Oh. Even if the green broom's there, you can opt to take the red broom still and get jump scared. Taking the green broom is what rescues Esther. We never know where she was, and we don't even know how taking the green broom rescues her. We just know that she's rescued and she's doing her best. We also learned that the password to the next level is icicle. So instead of just going straight to the next level, you have to type the password to go into it. It's very weird. So for level 2, Bestie Raven takes us to the Giant's Garden, which is where Tom has been placed. This is where we meet probably the best character in the game and our other bestie, the Talking Toadstool.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm the Talking Toadstool.
Bestie Talking Toadstool tells us that we need to use the creatures in the Giant Garden to help us get across. It's the easiest level in the whole game. It's not some weird evil trick, it is just using the creatures accordingly. So, we can use the butterfly to fly us across the big pond, we can use the snail to avoid the giant acorns falling in the woods, the worm to tunnel us under the plants and avoid the ant army, the bee to chase the dog and sting its arse so we can go through the twisty path, and finally we can use the spider to get Tom down from the tree. And I'm pretty sure you can't get the witch in this. I think if you can't use one of the animals, it just says it's wrong. Also, I forgot to mention while I was filming, but the soundtrack on this level is really odd. But yes, we have Tom now. We have 2 out of the 6 missing kids, and we're told the password is Sky, When I was at school, the password for the next level was dewdrops, so I don't know what happened there. Bestie Raven tells us for level 3 we have to go to the City of Dragons to rescue 2 kids this time, Claire and Anna. At the City of Dragons we meet bestie number 3, who I think could possibly be a very culturally questionable character. He teleports on screen, tells us his name is Archu, and has this quirk where he has really bad sneezes. We get given Anna just for turning up. That's half the kids rescued now, so that's good at least. That makes up for the racism. The aim of this game is to tame 4 baby dragons, and these 4 baby dragons are little shits. They all have their favourite snacks. We have to entice them out, put a collar on them, which makes them tamed. But it's a very annoying puzzle, process of elimination type bullshit. Even trying to explain it now is going to be difficult. We are presented with 3 bags of chips, 3 lollies, 3 buns and 3 oranges. And in bad video creating fashion, I'm going to now look at my notes so I can explain this properly.
Huh?
No! Okay, so my light just stopped. I think it's out of battery, so we are now relying on natural sunlight. The red dragon loves buns, the yellow dragon hates them, and the other 2 don't mind them. The yellow dragon loves chips, the blue hates them, and the other 2 don't mind them. The green dragon loves lollies, the red hates them, and the other 2 don't mind them. And finally, the blue dragon loves oranges, the green hates them, and the other 2 don't mind them. Kids are meant to just roll with that, I guess. Oh, and also, if you run out of any of the 3 foods at all during your play of this level, the witch gets you. But on the plus side, it's a much tamer jump scare, but she does make you jump. And if you're curious, the correct order was buns, lollies, oranges and chips. Once the baby dragons are fed and tamed, they are no longer guarding the cave that has Claire in, and thus she is rescued by appearing on screen. So that's 4 out of the 6 kids now. Final level.
2 more children to find.
Bestie Raven gives us a map for the land of mystery for us to find Jessica and Daniel. And this level is also really confusing. So on the map there are a few places we can go and a few places we can't go. For example, we can't go to the marsh because it's too dangerous to go there. You also can't go to the bridge, even though it's marked on the map as if you can only cross it. But these are the places you can go to if the time is right, which I'll explain that later. We have the cottage, which allows us to grab a giant key from outside, and we can also go inside the cottage where the witch is eating a cake, and we can actually take the cake out of her hands without her catching us. It makes no sense. We have the forest, where we're told by the game that the trees are called pom-poms, which we need to know for later, and we also then find out that the forest is also on fire. And spoiler alert, Jessica's in the forest. R.I.P. Jessica. There is also a hill which has a load of giant stones and a hungry giant. There's also a lake with a spiky fella, and there's also a castle with a guard in front of it, which, spoiler alert, is where Daniel is. That doesn't sound too hard, right? That's something a kid can play first try easily and not face consequences that don't make sense. Oh, and of course, in Granny's Garden fashion, any wrong steps or trying to go in certain places when you're not ready in terms of the level sequencing, you just get told it wasn't a good idea and you get caught by the witch. So I'm going to explain to the best of my ability the best way to traverse around the map. When you start off on this level, you start off on a path between the cottage and the forest. I would say from the start you should head to the cottage, and you can either take the key from outside or you can go inside and take the cake from the witch. Either is very simple to do, you just literally say yes to taking it. Whatever item you grab, you get kicked out straight back to the map. And there's another weird quirk with this level, which is that you can't go back into a location that you're already at. It says you're already there. So you have to go somewhere else and go back. For an unexplained reason, if you started off going to the cottage, you can't then go from the cottage to the lake. If you try to, it says that was not a good idea and you get... Although I think the reason why is because from the cottage to the lake there is some kind of troll that blocks the way, and he asks you what the trees in the forest are called, and by Granny's Garden logic, if you haven't gone to the forest to find out the trees are called pom-poms, then there's no way you'd know the answer and therefore you'd fail, and so you get game over. So like I said, it's very specific on the sequencing of where you've been and what you've done. So I would say from the cottage then go to the hill, and there's a hungry giant there. He will say, "Shall I eat you?" And your logic will tell you to say no, and then he'll just tell us to run and we'll get kicked back to the map. But we actually meant to say yes, and then he tells us he doesn't eat humans, well, not many, and then we can take a stone from the hill, and we need a stone for later. Then I would say from the hill we can go back to the cottage and grab the other item. And then from the cottage we can go to the forest, which is where we find out the name of the trees and we find out it's on fire and we need to put it out. At this point we don't actually know Jessica's in there, we're just told that we need to put the fire out. And we're also told not to litter, so good on you, game. From the forest you can actually go to the castle, but at this stage if you try and go to the castle, guess what happens? There's a specific thing you need to know before you can go to the castle. What we can do though is go to the lake. And from the pathway from the forest to the lake, we meet a pansexual Hagrid who will only let us through if we give him a stone from the hill. So yay! At the lake we see that Spiky McGee who wants our key from the cottage in exchange for some water. And I know you think we've got to go to that forest and put out that fire, but please wait. We actually need to keep our key on us at this point, so say no. He also asks us if we want to know his name, which we should say yes, and we learn his name is Redhorn. Now we know what his name is, we can go to the castle. And on the path from the lake to the castle, there is who I assume to be called Greenhorn. He says, what's the name of my brother who lives in the lake? We tell him Redhorn, and then he lets us pass. We get to the castle, the screen's black and these giant eyes there with text saying I'm watching you for literally no reason. I don't even know who that's meant to be. And then we meet the guard at the front of the castle, and he'll only let us pass if we have a cake. So if we tried to get to the castle without the cake from the cottage, we get told it's not a good idea. Once we've fed the guard, the door automatically opens, only if you have the key. So if we got this far, and we either didn't have the key from the cottage, or we gave Redhorn our key in exchange for water, and then went to the forest, put out the fire and rescued Jessica, which seems like the logical thing to do because fire is fast, so you've got that on your mind. And also, a castle just feels like the very final part of the level. If you don't have the key, it just says you need a key. When I replayed it 6 years ago, I think I got the scary jump scare from the witch. You need a key to open the castle door. I don't think it's meant to happen. I think you're meant to get the other one, which is her head and shoulders. I keep getting sidetracked explaining the weirdness. We have the key, we open the castle door, we get told we keep the key, which is great, and we go into this empty corridor and we get told that this is the Castle of Dreams, and then in snake to sausage fashion a bubble appears on screen with a picture of a child, which then turns into Archu, which then turns into checks notes, a box of tissues with legs that walk forwards and backwards, and then randomly disappear as Daniel comes running on the screen like a bellend. And thus we've rescued Daniel. We can go back to the lake, we can give Redhorn our key in exchange for water. How do we carry the water to the forest, you ask? We don't know. Maybe Archu came along as a bucket with legs. So we then go to the forest, we put out the fire, we traverse through, there is a tower, and Jessica's inside. I guess that explains why she didn't burn, I guess because she could run up the tower to safety. I don't know, but that's it. We've rescued all the kids. The game very abruptly ends with Bestie Raven telling us that that's the end of our adventure. Then all the kids are cheering outside the woodcutter's house. What? And then Granny says it's time for tea. And that, my friends, is Granny's garden. Few questions. Who is Granny? Why did we bring the King and Queen's freshly rescued children to the granny for tea and not to the worried parents and probably civilians of the land of mystery or whatever the fuck it's called? What's it called? Kingdom of Mountains? If she's the kid's granny, wouldn't that make her the queen? And then subsequently the king and queen would be the prince and princess, right? And thirdly, how did the witch not catch us when we took cake out of her own bare hands, but she manages to see us across the opposite side of the map trying to go to a castle without a key? Maybe we'll find out in Granny's Garden too. No, there's not a sequel. There isn't, I'm sorry. But you know what? Someone should make one of those backroom games. You know the ones where it's like a picture chasing you with a noise? Someone should make one of them with a picture of the witch chasing you and it's just her creepy laugh. Someone should do some kind of game like that because she was scary as hell. There's a whole community out there of people scared of this witch. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a lovely day or whatever time. Or, you know, happy life, you know, and all that. Bye!